Hello and welcome back to my cooking channel, Katie Cooks Easy Recipes. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make my insane satay beef curry. I'll be doing mine in the pressure cooker, but I'll give you instructions on how to do it in your slow cooker too. But before we get down to the recipe, don't forget to like, share and subscribe this video if you enjoyed it, because I'd love to share more home cooking tips with you. So let's begin with the meat. Here I'm using braising steak, which is a relatively cheap cut of meat, and obviously it slow cooks really well, or in this case pressure cooks really well. I'm also a huge fan of beef shin, which I actually prefer to use, but the supermarket I went to today didn't have any. But if you can, yes, get hold of shin. And I also prefer to buy them in big pieces and dice them myself, because then you know you can cut it to the size you like. You can get some nice big chunks and you really know when you're getting a piece of beef. Now that we've got our braising steak cut into nice big chunks, I'm going to season it up really well with salt and pepper. And then once your beef's nice and seasoned, add some vegetable oil to a hot pan and we're going to brown off our beef. This is obviously going to add more flavour to the dish. I am a big believer, if you're doing a slow cooker dish, that you should try and brown off your ingredients, most of your ingredients, before you put them into the slow cooker. It just helps all the ingredients along their way getting cooked. It adds a little colour, makes more flavour. So if you brown them off in a hot pan rather than just stewing them from the start, you really will notice the difference, especially if you're cooking a curry in your slow cooker. If you just chuck all your ingredients into the slow cooker, you are going to end up with an okay curry, but it won't be phenomenal. And I'll explain why in a minute. So now that our beef is browned off, we're going to add it to our slow cooker, or in my case, my pressure cooker. I absolutely love my pressure cooker. It does everything a slow cooker does, but within like an hour and a half, depending on what you're cooking. So you don't need to get up early and get everything in the slow cooker. You just get home from work and still have these delicious meals. Back to the recipe. Now this is a fundamental part of making a great curry, and this doesn't matter if you're doing your curry in the slow cooker, pressure cooker, on the hob, in the oven. You must sweat your onions down. You must make sure they're not burning or not colouring too quickly, but they go really lovely in a deep golden colour. A lot of recipes will lie to you and say sweat your onions off in 5 minutes. No, they need at least 10 minutes, and that's how you'll get depth of flavour. I mean, you can cook them for up to 45 minutes if possible. But try and get as much colour on them as possible. And then go in with a couple of tablespoons of, I've used madras curry paste here, and then some water, and just get that paste nice and cooked off until it's lovely and fragrant and it looks like this. You'll see now that the oil in our dish is starting to take on the colour of the paste as well. This is also a really great indication when you're making a curry that it's going to have some real great depth of flavour. And now to make it a satay curry, we're going to go in with 2 huge tablespoons of smooth peanut butter. Excuse my fingers, but I didn't have another spoon to hand and it was super sticky. And then just stir that in, so now you've got this lovely madras satay paste, and it just smells absolutely incredible. Now to make it super creamy and even more delicious, I'm not adding a tomato base to this curry. I'm actually going in with coconut milk. It just makes this curry taste absolutely insane. Please don't knock it till you've tried it. I know it's an Indian paste with a coconut sauce, but it's absolutely incredible, and it's probably one of our favourite dinners. We get so excited when this is on the menu. So now we've got everything browned off, cooked down, sweated down, toasted off, and smelling absolutely amazing. You've already got the most delicious sauce. It's incredible. Add that to your beef that's already in your slow cooker, and then we're going to go in with some lovely little new potatoes. Potatoes and beef in a curry are like match made in heaven. And then you don't have to use so much beef either, so it's a nice cheaper way to bulk out your curries. But you don't need to parboil the potatoes. They're going to cook in this sauce and soak in all the lovely flavours. Then we're going to go in with some chopped coriander and 2 or 3 split bird's eye chilies. It's entirely up to you whether you add them, but the coconut milk will neutralise the curry paste a lot, so it will, if you like your curry spicy, you will need to add a little bit more heat, and I feel like this is just perfect. Give everything a good mix round, and then you're just going to pop your lid on. If you're using the pressure cooker, I turn it on for 45 minutes. If you're doing it in the slow cooker, then it will take around about 6 to 7 hours on low, but you should have this delicious curry. If your sauce is a bit thin, turn it up to high and just let it bubble away a little bit until you have the perfect consistency. And as you can see, we've got this rich beef and potato curry. It's absolutely incredible already. The potatoes will be lovely and tender, as you can see here. I'm just going to cut through it really easy. They've soaked in all that lovely flavour. They're just absolutely delicious. Like I said before, this beef curry has so much depth of flavour, but it is very rich. So we're just going to take this time before we dish it up to lighten it up a little bit. And you can do that by adding some lovely lime juice. I find that around about half a lime is absolutely perfect. I then throw in some roughly chopped spinach that don't need to be wilted or anything like that. It will cook in the residual heat in like a couple of minutes. I also like to serve it with some fresh chopped coriander. Have a little taste. It definitely will need more salt. Salt is an incredibly important ingredient towards making a great curry. You really do need to be generous with that, so just keep adding it, tasting it, tasting it until you're completely happy. I think here I added a little bit more lime to try and lighten it up a little bit more, and then the dish was finished. I'm so happy with this. You have to try this recipe, guys. It will be one of your absolute favourites, and I do recommend getting a pressure cooker because I did all this in around about an hour and a half, so it was really handy. Now all that's left to do is dish up. So get yourself some steamed basmati rice and then just pop that lovely sauce next to it. And lastly, chuck over some lovely freshly chopped coriander as a garnish. You've got to have that, it lightens the meal up. And I always like to find one of the little bird's eye chilies because I like biting down on one of those. And there you have my slow cooker beef and potato satay curry. Please do give it a try and don't forget to follow my channel.